Alright, what's going on, guys? So the new Elden Ring Nightreign weekly rotation just went live, introducing the new boss fight, the Everdark Sovreign of Gladius Beast of Night. This is the final Everdark Sovreign of the cycle that we're currently getting. We don't currently know if there's going to be any more, but as for all the ones that were announced, this is it. Now there's a lot to say about this fight. Ending the Everdark Sovreign run with the very first introductory boss in Nightreign is quite the way to do it, and I think this might be one of my favorites, if not my favorite. There's a lot to say about this boss fight. It definitely is tough, I'll give it that. But we're going to do a full breakdown of this fight, tips and tricks, go over its moveset. We're also going to talk about the new relic you get for beating it, which is actually well worth your time to do so. And then with this being the final Everdark Sovreign, I want to kind of talk in retrospect about these updates, about the mini enhanced boss fights we got, and give you my overall thoughts. But as we get started today, as always, if you want to stay up to date on all things Elden Ring Nightreign, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and now let's get into it. The Enhanced Gladius fight begins with him split into the 3-dog form, and for about the first 30% of health, the fight is as normal in Gladius's regular second phase. Now this is going to sound pretty obvious, but it's really important to save your heals here. This is a fight where the boss does a ton of damage, even if you have a lot of defense buffs, and this is also where your holy damage is going to come in handy, because these singular dogs can get staggered by the holy damage, and it debuffs them for a while. And it's really important to stay coordinated in this phase in particular, because if you have teammates that are just running off and not fighting, then they're going to gang up on one person, and you're going to need those revives. But you've seen all this before. But once you get him down to about 70% health, he returns to his normal form with the 3 heads and begins to blow fire on the ground. Then he gets a new look with this sort of glowing red, flame-like horns and a helmet on the end of each head, and coming off of his feet. And it actually looks super cool. The sword is also glowing and sort of molten, and it looks awesome too. But here we see a lot of new attacks, one of which is that he holds the sword on the ground and begins to kind of skate around the arena dragging the sword. It reminds me a lot of the Abyss Watcher's moveset in its second phase, except it doesn't leave an explosive trail of fire on the ground. But it can combo into a move where the sword begins to trace the ground, and it does the fire explosion move of Holstor, where it leaves those fissures along the ground all over the arena, causing many explosions, and then he throws the sword high up into the air and it does a big nuke. You'll also want to watch out for the grab attack. This will be signaled by him opening all 3 mouths, and the telegraph is on the last one. A little bit hard to time. There's another new combo where he swings the sword around on the chain much like he does in the regular fight, except it leaves fire on the air, and then it combos into a new attack where he traces the ground with the sword, causing a bunch of mini explosions. There is another attack where he holds fire in his mouth and begins to jab the heads on the ground, causing mini explosions. And I believe this combos into a new attack where he breathes fire onto the sword, plunges it into the ground, and then lifts it up to cause a trail of explosions out forward. And that's not even all of it. He can still transform back into the 3 different dogs occasionally in this fight, and each one will dart around the arena leaving a trail of fire, kind of like the dashing tornado of Enhanced Adele. And the dog with the sword can still do many of the new phase moves with that sword, so this fight is crazy. This is by far the most remixed version of the Everdark Sovereigns. The new version of this fight is just way different, and I could see this being a lot of people's favorite. Again, it may seem obvious, but the real key to this fight is just having coordination. You need a really good team. I don't think this is a boss you can just kind of brute force your way through, which tends to be my strategy to approaching these things, so I'm having a pretty tough time with it. This is a boss that can handle all 3 players, and it will target all 3 players, so if you're playing a character like Revenant, like Iron Eye, or pretty much anyone except Raider, this boss can very easily one-shot you even if it's not focused on you. And unfortunately that was how my attempts were going with other players. Y'all may want to pick up Raider for this one, or learn his combos. Now personally I really like this fight. It's tough, there's no real gimmick, not a lot of cheap tricks going on here. It's a very straightforward fight, and it feels like a truly enhanced version of Gladius. But man, it kicked my butt these first 2 attempts. Gonna take some work for sure. Now, when you do manage to beat this boss, you will be rewarded with the relic, Dark Knight of the Beast, which has the perks of stamina recovery upon landing attacks +1, taking attacks improves attack power, and fire attack power up 2. This is actually a very good relic, and very good in particular for Wilder. You could very easily combo this with the relics you get for doing his Remembrance, which gives you the fire buff on greatswords and the extra fire damage on your ultimate. This could also be pretty good on Raider, less so for the fire damage but more for the taking attacks improves attack power and the stamina recovery, allowing you to just stay in the pocket and fight. So I'm definitely going to be trying to get this one. If you have some other combos for this relic, definitely let us know down below. Now for the remainder of the video, I kind of want to take a look back on the Everdark Sovereigns in general. This concept, I think, was a fantastic idea to keep Nightreign alive. Now, do we call this live service? I don't know, but I really enjoyed the weekly updates. You know, you can be a little critical at the lack of randomization between runs, and I think because of that, just the content in the base game did get a bit stale after a while. But with these Everdark Sovereigns, you're constantly having to switch up your strategy. It pays to employ the shifting earths and use the different advantages of each one when tackling each specific Everdark Sovereign, like for example using the mountaintop on Caligo or Nocklateo in a fight like Enhanced Adele, that has potential to one-shot your whole team if you're not careful. And I think it was a good measure too of how collectively the skill level of the player base in Nightreign increased to where the base fights actually became extremely easy. And I think these came at the perfect time to really be a challenge to the player base after we learned all the best practices, all the optimization routes and those kind of things. Now when we break the bosses themselves down individually, I really enjoyed Fulgore. After I learned Adele, I enjoyed that fight too. I wasn't crazy about the boss fights where you're not actually fighting the boss itself, like Enhanced Libra, which might be a controversial opinion. That fight was an absolute nightmare for me. Like I said in the video about it, I already struggled with the base game Libra fight, and this one was just, to me, really annoying. In that fight, you're fighting pretty much everything except the boss himself, so I really wasn't a fan of that. Although I do think the avenue they took with him forcing the deals on you was very creative. The NPCs though, I did not enjoy that personally. Kinda ironic now that I think about it with how much I like PvP in these games. Enhanced Caligo too, I wasn't crazy about. I just didn't think it was different enough. It was kinda just the same fight with more health and 2 new AoEs. Now Enhanced Noster, when I fought it the first time, I thought it was really hard, and I wasn't a fan of all the chaos. But then I kinda learned the strategy, and it became extremely easy, so now in retrospect, I'm pretty indifferent about that fight. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I didn't really dislike it either. If I had to rank them all, I'd probably go Gladius, Fulgore, Adele, Noster, Caligo, Libra, Maris, in that order. With just overall how fun they were being the main factor of that. But now that we fought all of them, I am curious to see how you guys would rank them. So leave your ranks down in the comments below. Now the main thing I am curious about now that all these have passed is if we're going to get Everdark Holstore. There of course was the icon found in the files, so I do think it will happen eventually, and I really hope it does. I think that would be the perfect way to cap off Nightreign before the DLC drops, giving us that real ultimate challenge of the game to master all the base game content. And I also just really want to see what they'd come up with for that fight. Does he summon all the Night Lords? Would they really go that far? Who knows? But I want to see it. It also does look like we do have that Deep of Night mode coming out sometime, probably pretty soon with just how much is already in the game present. And I do think that'll probably be the next step up for us as a collective community. After we master the base game, after we master the Everdark Sovereigns, this is that next test for us. And a ranked hard mode is a great way to really challenge everybody. So I am looking forward to that. But overall, the Everdark Sovereigns, fantastic way to support the game. Great way to constantly keep us on our toes, keep everything fresh, and keep coming back. I'm really glad Nightreign is getting this kind of support, and I really can't wait for the DLC. And I hope they do Everdark Sovereigns for the DLC bosses, whenever those come out. But now that we fought them all, now that you've ranked them all, what is your overall opinion of the Everdark Sovereigns in general? Y'all let me know down below. Anyways though guys, that is going to do it for the video today. Let me know your thoughts on Everdark Gladius down below. Have you managed to beat it yet? And what tips and tricks do you have for other people that might be struggling? Anyways though guys, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here. And I will catch you in the next one.